What's up, influencers? Welcome to another live broadcast. Today, we're going to be talking about getting sponsorships even as a small YouTuber on this amazing platform called YouTube. We're going to be sharing 5 tips, and I've got a special guest, Justin Moore. But you guys, welcome. Put your comments down below. Put your questions down below because we'll be checking it all out. Chris, let me know how the audio sounds. You guys let me know how it sounds on your side. I'm excited. Getting sponsorships, getting brand deals is such a big part of YouTube. Obviously, AdSense is a way that people monetize their videos from Google, but brands, they really are the bulk of how most influencers make their money if they don't have their own business or product that they're selling. The reason I'm excited about today's guest is his name is Justin Moore, good friend of mine. Not only is a YouTuber himself, has a vlog channel, has been doing this for years, but also has his own influencer agency, and it's called Trending Families. And I'm excited for him to share a little bit about what he knows because he actually works with brands, lines them up with creators, sometimes who have small audiences. So Justin, welcome to Video Influencers.
Thanks for having me. I am super, super excited to be here. Like you said, Benji, we've known each other a long, long time. We both have, our respective families have been on YouTube for a long time. Things have changed a lot over those many years, as you know, so it's been a wild ride.
Absolutely. And you guys, Sean and I, we started this channel because we both have our own respective experiences. Today, I'm honored because Justin and I think we can relate a lot more as vloggers and actually working with brands and that being part of our business model. I've been doing this for 10 years and I love working with brands, but not all brand deals are going to be good for you. And you have to know a few things on how to find the brand deals and make sure you filter the right ones. So first off, we're going to be talking about the very first tip. Tip number 1 for getting sponsored, even as a small channel, is find a niche. Find a topic or specific type of channel content that you can focus on, especially when you're first starting. It's easy to be tempted by Casey Neistat, even people like my wife, Judy, who are these massive influencers and try to duplicate what they have. Just remember, it took them years to get there, right? Secondly, they started a long time ago and they were able to build these huge audiences. If you're looking to monetize sooner, right? Like in the next 6 to 12 months, and you have a relatively small audience or no audience, the way you're going to set yourself apart literally is by having content that stands apart from other influencers. And what I mean is this, rather than just becoming a daily vlogger, focus on something that makes you more specific to a type of content. For example, instead of me just being a daily vlogger, maybe I'm a vlogger that gardens, but maybe I'm like an organic gardening expert, but I vlog about it, right? The more specialized, the more focused you're on a type of content, the better your chances are for working with brands, even when you're a small channel. Justin, this is a huge thing that a lot of people can't wrap their brain around because they try to duplicate what all these bigger YouTubers are doing. Anything you want to share on this first topic of niche content?
Absolutely. So to get real tactical about this, so, let's say I'm a brand and I'm looking for someone to partner with, right? If I visit your site and there's no way in which I can let's say I'm let's use the example actually you just gave, Benji, about being a gardener, right? Let's say I'm a gardening brand, right? The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to look on YouTube and I'm going to type in gardening, right? Or influencers who are some keywords. So you talk about search engine optimization a lot of the time, right? I mean, YouTube is a search engine, right? So if I'm a brand, and that's honestly, sometimes that's the first thing they do. If I'm a brand manager at a gardening company, I'm going to go and I'm going to type into the search bar at YouTube and see who is talking about gardening on YouTube, right? And so if you are niche and all of your content is your titling, your thumbnailing, your tagging, all of these gardening terms, all of these things in which you're super proficient at, it's a passion, it's a hobby of yours, you are going to be one of the first people to show up, right? And so I think that is like such an important, because a lot of people think that if I go niche, then I'm going to limit the opportunities that I have. And that couldn't be further from the truth, right? I think that back in the day when, so my wife, April, and I, we've got a couple different channels. April has like a beauty and lifestyle channel. She has a cooking channel. we have a family channel together, right? Maybe 4 or 5 years ago, a lot of brands were not partnering with family influencers, right? They didn't, with family creators, they just didn't really kind of get it. It was still more like the beauty gurus they were partnering with. And so a lot of brands really hadn't gotten to that yet. And so it really isn't until just recently that people are kind of coming on board and wanting to partner with those type of influencers. So I think the recommendation here is that by going niche, you become a big fish in a small pool, right? And that you greatly increase the chances that you have of partnering with those brands who are relevant to the content you're making.
Absolutely. And you guys, don't get us wrong. You still have to hustle. You still have to work really hard and have great content. Just because you're like creating content nobody else is creating doesn't mean you're going to get a brand deal, right? It's just like focusing on a specific type of content first and starting out that way and building on it. This is the thing. If you want to eventually become a mega star like PewDiePie or Casey Neistat or Judy or April, like Justin's wife, you can absolutely do that, but start small, grow in that niche, and then get bigger and bigger and more popular and more, like influential so that you can get those bigger brand deals. And another reason why I like this point or this tip of niche is sometimes smaller companies don't have influencers to work with, right? Or maybe the influencers they want to work with already are working with other brands. So you could be filling a slot that maybe isn't being filled. Anything you want to get into, Justin, before we go into tips?
Yeah, one final point just to summarize this is that, so just a specific example. So my wife started with her April Athena 7 channel. That was like her first main channel. She started doing cooking videos on that channel, right? And her viewers, she listened to her viewers, they said, we want to see more cooking content. And so at that point, once she had, kind of achieved a certain level of following and viewership on her main channel, it wasn't until like several years later that she started her cooking channel. So I think the point is that grow your audience and listen to your audience to a point where, okay, maybe now it makes sense that I've really kind of honed in on this niche, on this first thing that I'm doing, and then expand beyond that. Because you may have all of these ideas about all these things that you want to talk about, but you got to focus on something first. Otherwise, it's just going to come off. It's not going to be a very cohesive strategy for your brand.
Absolutely. I just want to say hi to a few people. First off, My Bourbon Journey, somebody's channel name. Amazing. So we're talking about niching down, getting specific, right? Rather than just talking about types of alcohol, you're going to be talking about bourbon, right? Or whiskey. I want to say hi to My Stuttering Life, Bella Love, The Food ASMR. Again, you guys, amazing channel names. And I can already tell from some of you guys that you understand what niching does for you. Tip number 2 for getting brand deals, even as a small channel, is network. This is the thing. Creating the content is one thing. Uploading it and then engaging. Lots of work, right? But it doesn't stop there. You've got to network with other creators, network with other brands, other agencies. Justin and I, we didn't just wait for opportunities to come to us. We were going out there. I remember when I first started YouTube, Justin, I don't know if you know this, like 10 years ago, I wasn't really in the content like yourself. We were like more in the background, helping on the business side. But I would ask Judy, who was already, I would say, a superstar in that time, what brands she wants to work with. So I would literally just cold call brands. I'm not kidding you guys. I would just cold call customer service. I'd work up the ladder. This is before there was influencer marketing, right? I'd be like, can I talk to your digital advertising department? And I would talk to whoever. So networking is super important. With that being said, just like going out there and finding it. Justin, tell us, I know you've got some killer advice on how to network properly to get these brand deals. I would love to hear it.
Sure. So I think that the hack here is networking with other creators, honestly, because so that you think of the tip of like collaborating. That's like the age-old kind of like networking tip of you're going to collaborate with another creator. But honestly, building that network so that you have all of these other people who are kind of in the same, sphere or content vertical, what you're doing, you get friendly with everyone and you start sharing contacts, right? You see, if you get friendly with someone and you see that they worked with a brand that you love, you reach out and be like, oh my gosh, congratulations. I'm so excited for you. This is awesome. Would you mind sharing your contact? How did you get that deal? I would love to work with them also. And it's 2 ways, right? So when you get an amazing opportunity and you have friends in your network, you turn around unsolicited and you reach out to your friends and you say, hey, I just, worked with this brand. I think that you would be a great fit for them too. And it actually, from the brand's perspective, I think that it's really important to recognize that as a brand, I am looking actively to work with other people in a similar time. So if I work with one person, right, if that person comes to me and say, hey, I loved working with you on this campaign, I want to introduce you to this other person who's making great content also. They will take that meeting every time, because that's a personal referral, right? And so they're going to trust that any day.
Absolutely. First off, I want to say thank you to Lou Seeds for your super chat. She said, we are niched fun vids to inspire kids to start a business. At 1,036 subs after a year, suggestions on sponsorships for at our level. Again, like what we're talking about is really important, this networking aspect, because network with other creators at your level. Like what brands are they working with? Another tip that I know you're about to drop on us is about LinkedIn. Like this is something I just recently got into. You would think that like LinkedIn is aged, like it's done, right? It is not done. It's just beginning. In fact, I think is better than ever. At VidCon, they had a whole like breakout session about this LinkedIn specialist or whatever, right?
Totally.
I've been networking on my own, but I'm definitely using LinkedIn. What do you want to share about LinkedIn and how this can help you get more brand deals?
So I want to just give a quick shout out to some smaller creators that are killing it in the networking and LinkedIn game. That's Got Love. They're Kyle and McKenna Gott, and they're based out of Las Vegas. And they're a great example of using LinkedIn to drum up business, not only for their channel, but for a side business that they've got going on. So they're owning the Las Vegas kind of ecosystem. So they're reaching out to small businesses and other people who are located in Las Vegas who need video production, right? So whether it's restaurants or other small businesses, people who are like looking to amp up their video game, but localized, right? So they're posting on LinkedIn all the time, like film this great video with this company or this restaurant or something in Las Vegas. Reach out to us for details about how to partner up. So not only are they drumming up their name from a search engine optimization standpoint as Las Vegas vloggers, but they have this own side business that they've got going on about doing video production. You guys have to understand, like, if I were a local business and I wanted to amp up my video game, I would have to go out and I would hire a video production company. I would have to hire some talent, some actors to go in there and like come into my restaurant and like be in the video. But if you're a YouTuber or you're someone who is like a production company in a box, kind of, right? Because that's what you are. You film, you edit, you distribute, you do it all. Right? That's a very big value proposition to a local brand to go in and be like, hey, let us do all of your videos for your Instagram or all of your Facebook. And then you can also say, hey, we've also got this YouTube channel where we can amplify that content, So really interesting to kind of just think outside the box and see how you can expand your offering.
Absolutely. I love what you said about Kyle and McKenna, because a lot of people think they need to move to LA, right? I always say, like, where you live, if there's less YouTubers, it's better. Now, if you live in the middle of nowhere and there's just no one around, unless your channel is specifically going to be catered to that, like living in middle of nowhere, and that might not be the case. But like if you live like, in the South, right? Or you live on the East Coast, or maybe you live somewhere specific that just is great for your type of content. Don't think that living somewhere unique is a bad thing. It's actually a great thing, right? And like what Justin was saying, you might be able to get a lot of business, especially in the beginning, from local businesses rather than competing with all the other influencers for the bigger opportunities. So we're going to move on to tip number 3, which is be aware and position yourself for success. This is the thing. A lot of creators just assume they know what brands want, right? They just assume they know what type of content is going to get sponsored. This is part of the networking part and also the experience part. There's a lot of things that brands are looking for. Like Justin was saying earlier, one of the things is if they're hiring you to do a brand deal early on, you don't have a big audience, maybe it's because they actually need content. They just need content that speaks for their brand because they can't do it. A lot of times, and we're going to talk more about this later, a lot of times they're hiring you at a discount for what it would cost them to create it on their own with a production company. Okay. Like I've literally had like 20 people in my house recording a video that Judy could have literally did on her own. No, not discounting what they bring to the table. Probably would have looked better, cleaner, or whatever. But Judy knows how to create content for her audience. And you guys, as YouTubers, as video influencers, as creators, you understand this platform and how people consume content. So tell us more about this. Be aware and position yourself for success. How it's important for getting brand deals, even as a small channel.
Absolutely. So I'll give just a good example. So as Benji mentioned at the top about our agency, Trending Family. So we are niche. I'm taking my own advice about tip number one, right? About going niche. So all we do as an influencer agency is we work with family-friendly video influencers. That's all we do, right? There's a lot of like influencer marketing agencies out there. It's a quite saturated marketplace right now, actually. So by going niche, we really have set ourselves apart. And so why this is really important to you. So we get let's say one of our clients come to us and say, hey, we want to, hire 5 video influencers to do a video, right? So we have a stable of people that we work with, about 300 influencers that we work with at any given time. But sometimes we need to expand beyond that roster, and we need to go out there and look for, a YouTuber in the South, or a YouTuber, who has a specific kind of like kids' ages, right? Like a lot of brands like, I need a kid between the ages of 5 and 12 or something, right? So it can get very specific. So sometimes we need to go outside of our network. And so why this is important is that when we go out and look for channels to work with, we don't have a ton of time to watch 10 videos on a channel, right? It's like, I liken it to a resume. So if I'm a recruiter, right, and if I have a stack of 50 resumes, right, I'm going to open it, and this is just the way it is. I'm being real here, right? Like you've got maybe a minute to jump off the page for that recruiter, right? You look at okay, where'd I go to school? What's my work experience? Like, why am I going to add value to your company? You've got a minute, right? And so it's the same with a YouTube channel, right? So if someone from my team lands on your page, on that banner, I better see family vlogger or whatever your niche is, right? I want to see very clearly what your channel is. If I'm doing daily vlogs, if I'm doing gardening, if I'm doing vegan cooking, whatever it is, I want to know right away in that banner, what am I looking at right here? Right next is the titles and the thumbnails, right? So I want to peruse very quickly, like, okay, what are they talking about in this video, right? And so maybe we'll watch one video all the way through, but more likely we'll watch 5 videos for the first 1 minute. So think about, what are you talking about in the first 1 minute, right? To really catch the attention of, and also just another thing to be really conscious of here is that we're family, like we only work with family-friendly influencers, right? So if we see someone who's making risque thumbnails or cussing a lot in their videos, right? Like for us, like we may not work with that channel. I'm just being real, like, and because that's what we do. And so think about, put yourself in the shoes of that brand manager, of that brand that you want to partner with, and say, what do I think that they want in a partner? And design your content, design the aesthetic of your channel accordingly.
Boom, you guys, this is wisdom coming from somebody that works with brands, right? Potentially works with other agencies or production companies. And, we're proud to be able to share this advice with you guys because we live it, right? As influencers ourselves, we know the challenge is not only about working with brands and these agencies, but also like how to get deals. And we both were smaller channels in the early parts of a career. And I told you, like, we didn't just stop. We didn't just wait for opportunities to come to us. So all this stuff we're talking about comes from a place of like experiencing what it takes and also understanding what they're looking for. If you can like understand that and play their game, but also protect the integrity of your channel and still deliver authentic, quality content to your audience, dunk. Home run, right?
That's a great point.
And it's going to be a win-win for you. It's going to be a win-win for the brand. And most importantly, it's going to be a win for the audience. And that's why all these put together. It's not just one of these, right? It's putting all these together. I love the fact that we're both family brands, but it doesn't mean you have to be family friendly, right? Just understand, even even beyond the agency standpoint, is like, what do you stand for and what are you going to be committed to? Make sure all your content revolves around that. See, one thing is this: Judy and I, we're family friendly, but sometimes we have our edgy side. We're just conscious, like, maybe we shouldn't drop the F-bomb in our vlogs, right? Like, we might actually bleep that out, even though, like, in our everyday lives, we might use it, right? Or like curse or something. Like, it's an example of like being conscious of like what brands are seeing while still trying to be real, right? Like, we're still talking the way we'll talk, but we might, like I said, bleep out something, cut out that part of what we're delivering. Because I'm telling you, why working with brands makes sense for a lot of channels is because if they can help you create an income and make you have the time and ability to quit your job so you can do this full time, there's going to be so many more opportunities for you. And you know what? One day, hopefully, you don't work with brands. Maybe you want to sell your own products, start your own business. But in the beginning, I'm telling you, there's just so much opportunity. And right now, more than ever, I've never been this excited about YouTube, about what we're doing. There's more brand deals, better brand deals, more businesses, more agencies out there than ever before. And there's just so much opportunity for you guys. And it's exciting, you guys. And I want to move on to point number 4.
Can I quickly, I want to do one more really, really important thing before we move on. Just quickly, look at your overall social persona, right? Because as a brand, I'm not just looking at your YouTube page. I'm going to go hop over to your Twitter and see what you're saying over there, right? Or I'm going to go look at your Instagram, right? So don't just think that a brand is looking at one, because sometimes, as you know, like, people behave differently on different platforms, right? So just be conscious of that, you know, they're going to be looking at, and they may find you through YouTube, but end up working with you on Instagram, right? So think of your overall kind of like persona across all your different platforms. That's it.
Love it. You just segued us into the next tip. Tip number 4, present your channel in the best light possible. Now, there's all kinds of ways to do this, right? Number 1, from your content, obviously, right? From your profiles, from the way you talk about your channel. You know, this is the thing. In the very beginning, you might have to be your own manager. You might have to be your own agent. I heard a tip from a very well-known YouTuber. I don't do this, right? And I'm not going to tell you this person's name, but they would actually act like their own manager. They would literally take phone calls as like, yes, I am so-and-so's manager. How can I help you, right? But still, when you're talking, talk yourself up in a very positive way. Make sure you're hitting all those like pointers that create your channel. But, you know, there's a lot of things you can actually do within email to present yourself in a much better way that the pros do, that maybe amateurs aren't doing, that really will set yourself apart. I don't want to take this away from you, Justin, because you're the one that mentioned it. I'll just follow up on it as you share the tip number 4 for how to present your channel to get better brand deals, even as a small channel.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that the most important thing that you can do, even if you're a smaller channel, is to create a media kit, right? And this can be something very simple. This doesn't need to be some hugely beautifully designed thing. This can be a 1-page document, 1 to 2-page document that has, you know, your best examples of which videos you think are the best. It's got some nice photography. It's got some, you know, information about your following on the different platforms, a little bit of information about your audience demographics. So how many, you know, when I say demographics, I'm saying like what percentage of your audience is male versus female? What are the ages? This is all information that is really useful to a brand. And I'm telling you, if you send that off to them, they're going to be super impressed. They're going to be saying, wow, this person really knows what they're doing. This is someone who I want to be partnering with. Here's the other thing I'll be real honest about is that some influencers are very flaky. Like, that's just the reality of it, right? Some influencers don't really treat this as a job or as a business, and that's okay. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? Some people are really in the pure kind of creativity aspect of it, and that's beautiful. I love that. But they're, you know, when it comes to like as an agency ourselves and brands, they want to know that they're working with someone who can keep to a timeline, right? Who can, when they say they're going to deliver something, they do it, right? So anything that you can do to kind of convince them of that you're a worthy partner of partnering with them, then that's going to be super, super helpful.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and you know, this is the other thing too. When you put out a media kit like that, you really are trying to tell them you're a professional, right? Like, you do this and this is a business and you're serious about it. Another thing a media kit does, not just for you, but for them, it makes their job easier, right? So
Totally.
I know I've had
Totally.
brands or agencies tell me they love it that not only do we have a media kit, but like after a campaign, I'll give them information about my deliverables, right? About the stats and analytics. And they're like, whoa, we love this. Well, a media kit is a way you're kind of doing that up front before you even work with them. If they can literally take your media kit, and Justin, you tell me if this is correct, take your media kit and maybe use it part of their pitch, right?
Oh, totally.
Or all the information, make sure your media kit has clickable links to your channels. It just makes your job so easy. Half the battle of an agency or like a PR company is literally just finding you and gathering information, right? They already know the vision of the content, everything. And I'm telling you, this is a game, as simple as it is. I literally ask other creators, by the way, Justin, I want to see yours. I asked other creators, what's your media kit look like? Because I want to see what's working for them. How did they land that big deal?
So I think the important thing here is that it's easy. You can just search up like media kit template on Google. You can either, they have a bunch of free ones, or you can buy some ones for cheap, like $10 on like Monster Template, or there's a bunch of places, Theme Forest or whatever. You can get a bunch of templates out there for media kits, so it doesn't have to be super complex. And I just wanted to bookend that, Benji. Your mention about how it goes. 90% of the time, I'm telling you, they are trying to convince their boss or someone else higher to do this, to work with you, right? So anything that you can put in their hands to make their job easier, because for the most part, like I would say that this is a pretty common thing, is that the people who are reaching out to you tend to be a little bit more junior, right? And so especially at like larger brands, and so they have to take that to their boss and convince them and say, hey, these 10 influencers, we should work with these. And so there's always this kind of like gatekeeper that you have to convince. So, and like you said, anything that you can do to help them win that battle is what you need to do.
Absolutely. And tip number 5, it's my favorite tip that I'm sharing with you guys, and I love to hear what Justin says about this, is understand your value. Don't sell yourself short. This is a thing. So many of you are hustling and working so hard, and you just think, I can't get brand deals. Or if a brand deal opportunity comes your way, you have no clue how valuable it is. I'm telling you guys, even if you have 0 subscribers, this is going to completely change everything for you. And this is me also telling you at, 1 million+ subscribers on my vlog channel. So I take it with a grain of salt, me telling you this, and you do as well. But just know this, there are production companies out there that brands or businesses or even agencies, PR companies even, will hire to create content. And it can literally, correct me if I'm wrong, okay, Justin, it can literally cost them multiple thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars, in some cases 6 figures, to create a spot in a vlog, or a commercial on TV, or just a whole campaign. Creating content, you're making it easier for them. And those of you who are blessed to have an audience, you also have people that you can deliver the content to that trust you, right? It is crazy. And you guys are like, Sean and I were talking about like the type of team we want to work with and type of creators we want to collaborate with. You want to be the Navy SEALs. You want to be able to create content, edit the content, put it up there, vibe with people on social media, engage, and then like do it over and over again. In some cases, like daily vloggers every single day, right? The Navy SEALs, like super skilled. That's what you are as an influencer. If you built an audience on YouTube and you also have an audience on social media and doing all these things, realize the brands, they have to hire whole departments to take care of each one of those aspects of what you do on a day-to-day basis. If you just take that and you exit off right now, I am telling you, you will understand how much opportunity there is out there, even for you guys with smaller channels.
Yeah. I think that for me, to hammer this home, like Benji said, I have like direct experience doing this every single day. I'm going to tell you, I would say greater than 50% of the time, the brand ends up going with an influencer who has a smaller following. Honestly, because not only is it more cost effective for them, but that person ends up just being a better fit and the better overall aesthetic, and they just fit with the mission and the values of the company better than the larger influencer. I'm telling you, I'm not making that up. Like we almost the majority of the time, right? Greater than 50% of the time, the brand chooses to go with a smaller creator. And I think that should trigger in your mind. That's a very, very powerful thing. And so you have, in some situations, a leg up on larger influencers because, you know, if you're a very unique personality, and going back to tip number 1, if you're doing something very niche, be confident in that and understand your value. And so, you know, and here's another really important thing to mention that I haven't gotten to yet, which is that don't be so fixated on your number of subscribers. I know that that's like a big metric that people look at. I'm going to tell you right now that we basically do not look at subscribers. We look at average views. So because at the end of the day, you know, that's really what matters, right? Like maybe 5 or 6 years ago, brands really cared about subscribers. And of course, there are still some brands out there who do. But the savvier ones, the ones who are really doing a lot of influencer marketing, they look at average viewership. And so that's really kind of like the impressions that they look at, like how many people actually saw your video, right? And so if you concentrate your content game, right, on tagging and SEO and all of these things that are super important to get your videos discoverable, not just by your subscribers, but by anyone who's on YouTube and showing up in that suggested feed. You know, if you really concentrate on getting your average video views up, because agencies like us, that's what we look for.
Boom. You guys, you're hearing it from somebody that not only is a creator himself and has gone and climbed the ladder to get to where he's at, but also helps other influencers. And the discussions about, you know, what the brands are looking for, he's there every day with his business, Trending Families. Influencer agency, right? I want to answer a quick question from Van's World. Thank you for the super chat. You guys, that's how we're prioritizing these conversations or these questions. He says, what would be a price to charge for doing videos for a local business? This is the thing. I can't tell you because I don't know what your local area is. What I would do if I was in a random city and a local business wanted to work with me, I had no experience, right? But I knew like how to find out how to charge. I would ask around. I would like ask similar businesses, even if it's not in the same industry, maybe similar size, you know, if they've done content on their social media, how much they paid a videographer to create it, right? Or some production company to make that commercial for them. And I would start there. That's very like grassroots, kind of like basic. And then beyond that, it's just experience. I will tell you this. I'm still learning today how much I should charge for different aspects of a campaign and deliverables that are being asked. I definitely am more confident in throwing out numbers. And I'll just put a little side thing too. I'll tell you, my value has gone up every single year, right? No matter what's happening with my views, because at this point, I understand what it costs for them to create content, right? And I understand my value. But if you're a local business, or even if you're a smaller YouTuber, this is the thing. You just have to figure it out by experience.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you, you're not going to be perfect. You might undercharge in the beginning. And one day you're going to talk to another influencer, maybe another local town, or maybe another YouTuber in your same niche that tells you how much they charge. You're like, oh, dang, right. I should have charged more. That's experience that is literally priceless. The one thing I will tell you guys for sure, and this is why we have video influencers structured the way we do, having people like Justin Moore on here, other YouTubers being interviewed, because we don't know everything. YouTube is so big, and the world of marketing and advertising is so massive. We don't have all the answers. So you're going to get the answers from your own observations of your own experiences, right? What failures you have, what successes you have. So the hustle is so important, you guys. Anything you want to add to that before I move on to the next super chat?
One other question I saw in the chat earlier, which I think is a good analog to this, is I hear this a lot, is like, when do I do a review for free product versus when do I charge them, right? And I think that always is something that comes up a lot. And so I think that the most important piece of advice I can give is be willing to walk away, right? So when they say, hey, I'd love you to send you this toy, or I'd love to send you this, you know, piece of camera equipment or whatever, and in exchange you'll do a review, right? If you're okay with being compensated like that, there's nothing wrong with that, right? I mean, like that is totally legit, right? But don't be afraid to say, well, for that I also will do a review, but I also charge $200 or something or whatever, right? And be prepared for them to come back. You'll be surprised. They'll come back and say, well, I can't do 200, but I can do 100. You'll be like, whoa,
Yeah.
right? Like you weren't expecting that, right? But you just made yourself $100, right? So don't be afraid to, because seriously, here's the thing. The worst they're gonna say is no, sorry, right? Like, but it's not like they're gonna say we don't want to work with you anymore, right? They're gonna say sorry, and you'll say okay, well I tried, right? So never be afraid to throw out a number and see what they say.
Justin, I almost forgot to say it. I'm so glad you brought it up. I learned this from my real estate investor who was a mentor of me years ago, and I never forgot it because it applies into YouTube, especially if you're starting out. You have a small audience. $1 saved is $1 earned. Say you're a gardening channel, right? And you buy fertilizer every single year, right? And it costs you so much money. Whatever, like I know fertilizer for me can cost like $100 to $200 a year or whatever. But say a fertilizer company wants to sponsor your video, you don't have very many views even, right? Maybe you're not getting to the threshold to get paid, but they're like, hey, we'll give you a lifetime free supply of fertilizer. Believe me, it happens. Okay.
Yep,
you just add up that number, like, shoot, that's a lot of money I'm saving. The reason I'm so passionate about this, I'm glad you brought it up, Justin, is in the beginning, you just need to get by, right? You just need to get to a place where you have the option to potentially quit your day job if that's your goal, right? Or just create some side income. And if you can save money on something you're going to spend on already, why not? Especially in the very beginning. That's how I looked at it in the beginning. Let me tell you my testimony on this. And then we move on to the next super chat, you guys. Is this when Judy first started YouTube? We used to hang out at the makeup store for like an hour, multiple times a week. I was a good boyfriend. I was like, yeah, I'll stand here and watch you put on lipstick for an hour. And she would spend a lot of money, more than maybe she really had. I know some of you guys into makeup can relate to that. When she first started getting offered free makeup, free like beauty products, I was like, this is actually pretty good. You're like saving a few $100s a month. Some of you guys, you just need a few $100s to make this worth your while right now. That's not how it's going to be forever. One day you're going to be able to do what Justin said, which is actually charge the brands, which can happen a lot earlier. But if all else fails, this is what I would suggest. Ask for as much product as possible. We used to ask for extra product beyond what they were going to offer for giveaways.
Yep,
Your viewers love giveaways, right? Obviously, follow FTC guidelines, all that stuff, you guys. But maybe, for me, I'll tell you, even Sean and I, in the early days of us hustling, we worked with a camera company. I won't name it who it was. And I would ask for extra gear for Sean, right? Because I knew Sean would want it. I wanted it. It was a campaign, not even for me. It was for Judy, right? Like, hey, can you throw in a few extra for our viewers and to give to family and friends, which meant like I'd keep one, give one to Sean, right? So just know that it doesn't have to be so black and white. It doesn't be like $100 for this video. It can be like $50 for this video and maybe like $1,000 worth of free product. Sometimes the brands can give a lot more. So especially in the beginning, smaller channel, this is a huge tip that's worked for me for years. Even to this point, when I am charging money, I still ask for as much free product as possible.
Yeah, totally.
So you guys, the next super chat I want to answer is Allspark. Thank you again for the super chat, you guys, for supporting us, what we're doing on Video Influencers. How can you tell legit sponsor offers from scammer offers? Also, how can you negotiate payment or rate when you have no idea what the fair market rates are? So I did just answer that, right? It takes a lot of experience asking around, but the question about who's legit and who's a scammer, I worry about that even to this day, you guys. Yeah. And this is the number one thing I do. The number one thing I do is click on their website. If it's a Gmail, this is funny because I have a Gmail, right? If it's a something at Gmail, I don't even look at it. I was like, come on, if you guys are an agency or brand, you got to have at least your own website, your own email, right? That's number one. Two, I go to their website, I dig up their social media, see if they've been active. If they literally just started everything yesterday, maybe not a great business to even explore working with. But I will tell you this, the number one way, which is a third thing, is ask other people that have worked with them, right? That's the best way. Justin, anything you want to add to that? Because there can be so many different, ways to do this.
I mean, I think honestly, you have to go with your gut, right? If it seems like something is wrong, like it doesn't, you know, like all those three things, that's the litmus test, right, Benji? Like you have to look at those three things. Those are really, you know, if they pass those, like it's probably okay, but go with your gut, right? If it seems fishy, especially if you are just, if you're included on an email to like 50 different influencers, or you're BCC'd on an email that's clearly like, you know, not meant specifically for you. That's another way that it can be feel a little scammy, as if they really didn't do any research to find out about your channel or anything about what you're doing, and you're just kind of like, oh, let's see who responds, right? Like we definitely get a lot of those too. So you just have to, you know, go with your gut.
Absolutely, you guys. Hey, I just want you guys to know I'm so thankful for you guys watching. Hopefully this is adding value. I'm going to read all the comments. So make sure you leave comments right after this broadcast is done so that I can respond back, and hit that like button if you guys want us to do more of these, because, you know, this is the thing. We want to keep putting out content that's going to help you build your influence, help you create income, and make an impact with your viewers. And again, thank you, Justin, for being on here. I think that we're just about at the end. Any last thoughts, Justin, before we leave? And remember, you guys, the more super chats you guys throw out there, the more questions we can answer either now or later. But any last thoughts about what you would tell creators, especially just starting out or with smaller channels, even bigger channels, on how to get brand deals?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think we've hit on a lot of the really solid ones, but I think consistency is one of the biggest things, right? Because one last thing I don't think we really talked about, but just as kind of a button this up, is that if you haven't posted a video in 4 months, probably not going to work with you, right? Like I want someone who is, it's very clear to me that they're continuing to pump out content, that this is something that they're not just going to fall off the radar. We didn't get to that, but I think that's another really important thing, is that, you know, it may be a grind, but, you know, if this is something that you're really truly committed to. I also just want to say one more thing, which is that you do not need to compromise the creative integrity of your channel to work with brands. I think that's another really important thing, that people feel like all these tips we're giving, like, you know, oh, make your brand appear like or, you know, your channel appear like a resume and like squeaky clean and all that stuff. No, it doesn't have to be that way. Brands want you because you're unique and because you're putting out content that really speaks to them, right? So you don't want to water yourself down to the point where you're not interesting, right? So, you know, you want your individuality and your uniqueness to show through, but you can do it in a very strategic way. So consistency and be yourself.
Absolutely. I love that. And one more super chat just came in. MD Family Medicine Physician here. Just created a channel after 10 years of podcasting for Macmillan Publishing. Not many physicians on YouTube. How niche can a family med doc really go? And I'll tell you, the niching, it never stops, okay? And as literally billions of people come onto this platform, that's that many more channels that can be created for those bigger audiences. And, you know, when we first started, of course, like it was all talking head videos. It was like beauty channels, you know, Justin and I know that was a huge thing. But I'll tell you, even in the beauty world, it's gotten super niche. There's channels that are literally just first impressions, right? There's channels that are just talking about hair products. Well, even in the medical world, I'll tell you, people, this is the one last thing I want to say to round this all out, you guys, and bring it home before we share with you guys how to find Justin's stuff, is this. YouTube is growing more than ever. I went to the headquarters a few months ago and I asked them, I was like, hey, let's be real, with everything happening with the algorithm, you know, people's impressions dropping, like are things slowing down? And they said, no, it's growing bigger and better than ever. Partly is Generation Z. It's partly these audiences that are connecting internationally. Don't just look to the United States. I'm telling you, the opportunities 5 and 10 years from now, if you start right now, are going to be so massive that you're going to be shooting yourself. You're going to be like really angry at yourself that you didn't start right now. And that's why I'm so adamant. That's why, by the way, we finally finished this book that's going to be for you guys. And we spent 3 years writing something for you guys that would add value beyond our videos, because we believe in this so much that this is going to last another 10 years. I used to think this is only going to last 12 months. Justin, can we like both relate on this? Like, we're like, is this really going to work long term? Like, can we make a career out of business?
Yeah.
I can tell you, I know for a fact, Justin probably feels the same. I know for sure. And that's why I started this channel at the peak of our experience on YouTube, because I believe when I used to think 12 months, now I think 12 years. not just for established creators, but for new ones. And the niching, the smaller communities are going to actually be more massive than the big communities back in the day, because literally you're talking billions of people. YouTube just announced 2 billion logged on users on YouTube. That is massive. That means that there's still 4 billion people. Of course, there's people that aren't connected to the internet that will be connected one day. Right. Of course, there's some people that can't afford it. But guess what? There's going to be a different economy for those people, and there's going to be a need for those channels. I love the channels. By the way, I love all the channels, but I especially love the channels and places where literally all you can afford is go to an internet cafe and make videos there, right? Because like you don't even have your own camera, you don't have your own phone, but there's people like you all over the world, right? That maybe appreciate your perspective or your type of content and what you bring to the table. So that's the last thing I want to say, you guys. Justin, I know that you already mentioned something. Got love. Thank you so much for the $5 super chat. You guys, I just want you guys to know Justin's a good friend of mine. If you guys want to find him on socials, we'll put it down below. But Justin, let us know where they can find you on YouTube, and if they are interested in trending families, how they can connect with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So our email, you can go to our website. It's just trendingfamily.com. And also our email is hello@trendingfamily.com. And my wife and I's personal family channel is youtube.com/AprilJustinTV. That's our personal channel.
That's awesome. You guys, appreciate you. One more last request, if I can make it. Hit that like button. Let's see how high we can get it before we get off. This is going way longer than we thought it was, which is awesome. I like doing this. I think Justin and I, that's why we have us video influencers, him training families, because we really are passionate about helping you guys. Show us some love. If you guys got any value, hit that like button. I'm looking at the counter right now. If it's going up, I don't know. Like, Gabby, let me know if it's going up. Justin, last thing you want to say, and then we'll end this broadcast.
Everyone's amazing. Keep killing it.
Absolutely, guys. As always, here on Video Influencers, we're helping build your influence, income, and impact with online videos. We'll see you on the next upload.